欢迎各位今天拨冗出席第19届台。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 19th Taiwan-India Joint Business Council's meeting.
We are delighted to welcome everyone to the 19th Taiwan-India Joint Business Council meeting, co-hosted by Chinese International Economic Cooperation Association, (CECA) Taiwan, and Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, (FICI). Before the opening ceremony, we would first like to introduce our esteemed VIPs. Later, we will take a virtual group photo. 在会议开始之前，首先为您介绍今天的贵宾。稍后我们将进行线上大合照。First of all, here in Taiwan, we have this great honor to have invited Mr. Isaac C. Cho, Deputy Director General, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. 外交部国际合作及经济事务司邱成玉副司长。Mr. 赵勤同 Chairman, India Committee, (CECA) 国经协会印度委员会童兆勤主任委员。Mr. Kurangala Das, Director General, India-Taipei Association 印度台北协会戴国兰会长。接下来，让我们欢迎远在印度线上参与的贵宾。Next, let's welcome our VIPs online who are joining us from India. We appreciate the attendance of Mr. Samir Modi, Executive Director, Modi Enterprises and Chairman, India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee, (FICI) Modi 企业集团执行董事暨印度台湾合作协会主席 Mr. Samir Modi. Ambassador 葛宝轩 Representative, Taipei Economic and Cultural Office 驻印度代表处葛宝轩大使。Mr. Manish Sharma, President and CEO, Panasonic India and South Asia and Co-Chairman, India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee, (FICI) Panasonic 印度及南亚执行长及印度台湾合作协会联席主席 Mr. Manish Sharma. And Mr. Dilip Chanoy, Secretary General, (FICI), who is also the moderator for the first plenary discussion today. 印度商工总会秘书长 Mr. Dilip Chanoy. Now we would like to take a virtual group photo of the VIPs from both sides. 为了使合照更清楚，我们将会稍微将现场的灯光调暗。Now we invite all the VIPs to look and smell at the webcam on your devices. Three, two, one. Thank you very much. Now we would like to invite our special guests and speakers here in Taiwan to come up to the stage for another group photo. 我们邀请台湾现场的贵宾与讲者上台进行合影。Please. 张龙起。
口罩可以拿了，这个不用拿。
Thank you for your cooperation. You may now return to your seats. 非常感谢各位贵宾的参与，请回到贵宾席就坐。Now I will give the floor to our first moderator, Mr. Dilip Chanoy, Secretary General Vicky. Mr. Chanoy, please. 现在让我们欢迎今天的第一位主持人 Mr. Dilip Chanoy.
Thank you, and very good afternoon to all who have joined in Taiwan and in India. I hope you can hear me. Okay. So His Excellency Mr. Baoshan Gare, representative. Yes. Hello. His Excellency Mr. Baoshan Gare, representative Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in India. Mr. Gorangaran Das, Director General, India Taipei Association. Mr. Chow Chin Tung, Chairman, India Committee, CICA, Taiwan, Vice Chairman, CTBC Holding. Mr. Samir Modi, Chair, India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee and Executive Director, Modi Enterprises. Mr. Manish Sharma, Co-Chair, India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee and President and CEO, Panasonic India and South Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to my friends from India and Taiwan. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you for this 19th joint meeting of the India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee. This committee has become an important institutional mechanism to promote trade and investment opportunities and collaboration between India and Taiwan. We are really encouraged by the investments announcements by the Taiwanese electronics companies, Foxtron, Visitron, Pegatron, under the production linked incentive scheme. I think electric vehicles and components is another area that we could look at, but I'm not here to make any welcome address or give anything. I'm just moderating the session, so very warm welcome. And with these words, may I now invite Mr. Chow Chin Tung, Chairman, India Committee, CIECA, Taiwan, and Vice Chairman of the CTBC Holding for his opening remarks. Vice Chairman, sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here to have an opening speech for everybody. Executive Director, Mr. Shami Amadi, Ambassador Ge Baoxuan, Director General, Ambassador Grangala Das, President and CEO, Mr. Manish Sharma, and the Deputy Director General, Qiu Chenyu 先生. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. Glad to be here as a participant from Taiwan and India. Thank you for your support and participation. It is my honor to co-chair with Mr. Shami Madi the 19th Taiwan-India Joint Business Council meeting jointly organized by the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Chinese International Economic Cooperation Association. I was just newly appointed by the Chairman Gao as the Chairman of the India Committee of the CICA. I'm pleased to see that this annual Joint Business Council meeting has been successfully serving as a bridge to facilitate the bilateral economic relationship between India and Taiwan over the last 2 decades. The purpose of the 19th JBC is to explore opportunities for cooperation between Taiwan and India in area of smart city consulting and EV manufacturing, as well as to discuss how Taiwan can help to achieve supply chain resilience. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to all of the distinguished guests, namely Manish Sharma, Director General, Grant Galadas, and Ambassador Ge Baoxuan for their gracious presence today. I'm also pleased to see that warming relations between our two governments are clearly being paralleled by the warming relationship between our two business communities. In Taiwan, our government and the business community have been exerting concerted efforts to build our country into a high-tech island. For your information, I've been working for that Hsinchu Science Park since almost 30 years ago. We built that park to start all the high-tech industry in the early 80s. For a long time, smart solution integration has been Taiwan's advantage. According to the ranking for smart city issued by the Singapore Eden Strategy Institution in 20 and 21, Taipei ranked 19th out of 235 smart cities. A smart city became a current topic this year. Taiwan's technology-based economic has placed the country in a solid position to respond to the modern demand in digital era. For instance, Taiwan's signal transmission technology and electric motor industry are well developed and highly competitive, which is why Taiwanese companies are confident of their capacity to account for up to 75% Tesla supply chain. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and acceleration of strategic rivalry between the United States and China, the restructuring of global supply chain became an urgent task. To rebuild a resilient supply chain is indispensable for achieving sustainable economic development, and nowhere is more essential, vital than the Indo-Pacific region, which is the center of dynamism in the global economy. Both semiconductor and electronic components manufacturing industry are Taiwan's remarkable strengths. Taiwan and India has common vision in developing smart device industry and fostering digital innovation. This is a lot of room for closer cooperation in deepened economic partnership and industry cooperation between our two countries. Today, our meeting will be focused on the India plus Taiwan, how the Indo-Pacific region can achieve supply chain resilience, and the cooperation investment opportunity of smart city and electric vehicle between India and Taiwan. We have invited industry experts from both sides to share their knowledge and experience with us. Again, I would like to thank you for all of your strong support and active participation. I wish today JBC a great, successful, fruitful result. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Chow Chen Tung, the Chairman, India Committee, CICA. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Sameer Modi, Chairman, India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee and Managing Director, Modi Enterprises. You are actually seeing his TV on the screen, so I will not introduce him, excepting to say that he's an enterprising businessman and has started many new businesses for his firm, which was actually founded back in 1933 by his grandfather, Mr. Modi. He also has started many new things, including Calabar Cosmetics, Modi Care, and 24/7. So, Mr. Modi, may I now welcome you for your opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chenoy. Mr. Chao Chen Tung, Chairman, India Committee, Siaka, Taiwan, Vice Chairman, CTBC Holding, Mr. Manish Sharma, Co-Chair, India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee, and President CEO, Panasonic India and South Asia, Mr. Dilip Chenoy, Secretary General, FICCI, His Excellency Garb Bachchan, Representative, Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in India, Mr. Garangal Das, Director General, India-Taipei Association, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is an honor and a privilege for me to welcome you all to the 19th joint meeting of India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee. Taiwan story has always amazed us, and it is incredible how it has transitioned from being primarily an agriculture-based economy to later diversifying into heavy industries and then to high technology. Taiwan has become a role model for the pandemic management, and it has had remarkable success in dealing with COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to highlight two main reasons that have helped Taiwan in effectively managing the COVID-19 crisis. First, lessons learned from the SARS experience. Two, national health coverage. Taiwan has what many call the best universal healthcare system in the world. Residents can visit any specialist in the country. Doctors anywhere will pull up their entire medical record via smart card, consult and prescribe medicine and or prescription drugs. Fees are billed directly to and reimbursed by the National Health Insurance Administration, whose 2% administrative costs are the lowest in the world. To my mind, going forward, cooperation in healthcare must be one of the most important area of cooperation and collaboration between India and Taiwan. Taiwan's proposal for a regular communication channel with India to link up medical agencies to better cooperate in the fight against COVID-19 is a welcome step in this direction. Taiwan is an important partner to India and plays a vital role in India's strategic and economic interests. We're already on track with Taiwan as an integral part of India's Act East policy and a springboard to the larger East Asian community. Taiwan looking forward to enhance closer trade and economic ties with India, as India is the focus country in Taiwan's new southbound policy. Trade between India and Taiwan had gone up to US 7.5 billion in 2018-19, while trade in 2019-20 stood at 5.72 billion. Investment by Taiwanese companies has touched $402.2 million, mainly in electronics and other manufacturing sectors. However, there are tremendous investment opportunities for Taiwan companies, which can be unleashed through initiatives such as PLIs, India, among others. India's economic interaction with Taiwan has gained momentum in the past decade, and there has been a steady increase in bilateral economics. Bilateral investment relations are also going strong and cover diverse sectors with several agreements in agriculture investments, heritage railways, civil aviation, DTAA, industrial cooperation, SME cooperation, customs cooperation, among others. Emerging technologies and growing industrial activity have given rise to identify other potential sectors for collaboration towards a sustainable future and mutual prosperity. Most of the major Taiwanese companies have already entered the Indian market, and there are more than 100 Taiwanese companies already having investments in India, from ICT to tires, banking to construction, textile to steels, agro products to synthetic rubbers, etc. Many other Taiwanese companies are currently evaluating their opportunities to invest here. Taiwan's expertise in India in areas like smart cities and clean energy is something that will immensely benefit the India Smart City Initiative and meeting the target for renewable energy generation of 175 gigawatts by 2022. India is a major software exporter, and Taiwan is a leader in information technology and high-tech manufacturing. India is on the path of becoming a pivot for high-tech world manufacturing. Electronics manufacturing stands among the important avenues of potential cooperation between India and Taiwan. The demand for electronics hardware in India is expected to grow to $400 billion, while India's estimated production capacity is projected to reach $104 billion, thereby creating an expected gap of $296 billion between demand and actual production capacity. This shortfall represents a huge opportunity for Taiwan to help India meet its captive domestic demand for electronics hardware. Taiwan's investment in auto components, electronic consumer durables in India can set the base for export-oriented units. I say this because Taiwan is an export-oriented economy and has already developed a robust global supply chain. This same supply chain can provide Indian manufacturers access to markets of China and Southeast Asia. Apart from ICT, the cooperation between India and Taiwan should also enhance in the field of medicine, agriculture, defense, electronics, and space technologies. Taiwan can join hands with India in the technology sector and can be the alternate market for India for sourcing raw materials in pharma, electronics, and the auto sectors. I am sure that the above drivers for India's economic engagement with Taiwan will gain significance in the post-COVID scenario and will further strengthen India-Taiwan bilateral economic relations. I wish all of you safe health and may your family and members take care, and thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for that welcome address. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Gorangalal Das, Director General, India-Taiwan Association, ITA. So Das, of course, he's had a distinguished career in the foreign service. He's served in embassy in Washington, D.C., and he, of course, he established the internal think tank, and Mr. Das, may I now invite you for your address, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chenoy. Mr. Thong Chau Chin, Chairman of the India Committee of SIECA. Mr. Samir Modi, Chair of the India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee of FICCI. Ambassador Gopal Xuan, representative of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Center in India. Deputy Director General, Mr. Chiu. Friends from the business community in India and in Taiwan. Good afternoon to you. I'm delighted to take part in the 19th meeting of the India-Taiwan Joint Business Councils. I thank FICCI and SIECA for taking this initiative to keep the B2B engagement going in a forward-looking manner, despite the grim challenges of the pandemic that is unfortunately once again raging in India. India-Taiwan relations are underpinned by shared values of democracy and common interest in a peaceful and prosperous Indo-Pacific. Taiwan's successful handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and its robust economic performance last year have created a very, very strong impression among the people and among the businesses of India. There is renewed interest among Indian businesses to learn from and to work with Taiwan, especially in supply chains and in technology. Taiwan is already one of India's most valued economic and business partners. India-Taiwan economic relationship is mutually beneficial with several complementarities. Taiwan is a large trading economy. It's an irreplaceable constituent of the global supply chains. It is a major source of outbound investment globally, and it's a technology powerhouse. India, likewise, is a large and growing market. It's a country with strong demographic dividend. It's the fastest growing startup ecosystem in the world, and also the source of most frugal innovation. Taiwan's hardware skills, when matched with India's software capacity, can bring enormous benefits to both our economies. Yet, our economic partnership remains far from its true potential. Our bilateral trade has grown fivefold in the last 2 decades. However, our trade with each other constitutes less than 1% of our overall trade globally, and it has fluctuated around that low level. Taiwan's direct investment into India currently stands at a little over $1 billion, probably more, probably less, as depending on which statistic we look at. But nonetheless, it may be said that considering that Taiwan's investment has been such a big force behind transformation of other Asian economies, that this amount is still relatively small. We see Taiwan as a very worthy partner in India's own quest for its transformation, not only because of your role in global supply chains, but also because Taiwanese companies create lasting values. We hope that Taiwan will invest in India's long-term growth and transformation and be a good partner for us in manufacturing, in Industry 4.0, startups, to next generation infrastructure. The range of the possibilities of cooperation is truly enormous. I'm confident that the new global trends towards value chain distribution and supply calculus will provide a new momentum for the India-Taiwan industrial partnership. Government of India has taken a number of steps in recent years to make it easy and attractive for Taiwanese businesses to operate in India. It is offering unprecedented opportunities and incentives for the supply chains to relocate to India. Taiwanese businesses were among the earliest beneficiaries of the PLI scheme introduced last year for mobile phone manufacturing. More such incentives are now in the offing, and we would encourage Taiwan to look at them. India is also ready to provide support to set up dedicated industrial parks for Taiwanese businesses, especially small and medium enterprises. The long-term prospects of the Indian economy and the inherent resilience of Indian businesses have been demonstrated once again in the last 1 year, with India boasting the best record in attracting new foreign investment. India's disruptive startups have begun to leave their imprint as new unicorns. Businesses, trade, and technology cooperation with Taiwan and Indian businesses would open new vistas of opportunity for Taiwan's industry and knowledge sectors. More and more Taiwanese companies looking to scale up and become global players should look seriously at the emerging and technology-oriented opportunities and focus sectors in India, ranging from e-vehicles, green energy, networking products, to smart cities. I would call upon the Taiwan industries, let India be the source of your new dynamism. I'm happy to note that some of these areas also form part of your discussion today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the business community from both sides for exploring new opportunities in today's changed environment. I hope that today's interaction will help businesses discover each other's potentials and advantages. I would urge you to make good use of this platform to forge sustainable business ties in years ahead. With that, I extend my best wishes for a successful event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Das, for that address and your participation today. It is now my pleasure to invite His Excellency Bhaushan Gail, Representative Taipei Economic and Cultural Center in India, TECC, for his remarks. His Excellency, Mr. Gail.
葛大使，不好意思，要麻烦请您开一下
哦，
麦
我开了。
克风。
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chenoy, Chairman Dong, President Modi, President Sharma, my partner in Taipei, Ambassador Das, Deputy DG Chu of MOFA, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First of all, we know India is now in the midst of a huge COVID pandemic surge. This has posed great difficulties for many people in this country. President Tsai Ing-wen of Taiwan, on behalf of the country and people, has expressed her serious concern over the rapid spread of COVID-19 and said that Taiwan stands with India and is ready to provide help. As I understand, Taipei is working hard on this, especially with ITA. And the first batch of the medical support, basically the oxygen-related equipments, will come to India very soon, hopefully by the end of this week. We sincerely hope that through these joint efforts, the tide will turn and people can go back to their normal life very soon. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Sika and Vicky for making this meeting possible during this very difficult time. Your hard work has ensured that we have a very successful meeting today. The agenda includes 3 important bilateral cooperation issues: Indo-Pacific supply chain, smart cities, electrical vehicles. The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and the uncertainty of the global economy has led to the reshuffle of the global supply chain. At a time when Taiwanese companies are relocating their manufacturing operations across the Indo-Pacific region, I hope that through today's meeting, the 2 sides will figure out more substantial ways of facilitating more bilateral trade and investment opportunities. The Indo-Pacific supply chain serves as a connective issue between Taiwan's investors and Indian markets. Make in India and the self-reliant initiative are very real, and there's no better time than now to invest in India within the Indo-Pacific supply chain. The complementary nature of our industries will be enhanced. Taken together, Taiwanese businesses should serve as the best possible partners for Indian businesses in the region because of Taiwan's strong legal and intellectual property protection regime, world-class universities, global leadership in ICT and semiconductor industries, vibrant supply chains and clusters, as well as its low tariff rates and low barriers for entry into the Taiwanese markets. In addition to these factors, in working with Taiwanese enterprises that have a great deal of experience investing in Southeast Asia and China, Indian businesses may increase their exports to those countries in the region. As for the electric vehicle industry, Taiwan has a noteworthy and complete industrial chain for EV components. A number of Taiwanese business EV brands are already finding their way into the international market. Companies such as Tesla rely heavily on Taiwanese supplies for more than 70% of their EV parts. Taiwan can therefore offer exactly these cutting-edge technologies to support their Indian partners to develop the local EV industry. Taiwan and India have already built a very close cooperative relationship in ICT industry. With the advantages of upstream and downstream clusters, Taiwan is now developing a comprehensive smart city application and solution supply chain. In recent years, Taiwanese enterprises have shifted from hardware production to smart applications, integrating the country's existing advantages in the areas of information technology, telecommunications, the Internet of Things, and cloud storage to developing all sorts of smart applications and smart services. Taiwan therefore has the capacity and willingness to cooperate with India's smart city initiative to make Indian urban areas more digitalized with smart technologies and services. I believe the strength of Taiwan's industries in the areas of smart cities and the electric vehicles are well known by business leaders in India. Through today's meeting, we will know each other's strength and market opportunities even better. The time has come for India and Taiwan to push for closer relations for trade investment that benefit both our 2 countries in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency Mr. Gair, for your address, and thank you for your support during this COVID crisis in India. And I'm sure we can actually increase the cooperation that is happening to address the COVID situation in India. I now invite Mr. Manish Sharma, co-chair of the India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee and President and CEO of Panasonic India and South Asia, for his concluding remarks. Mr. Manish Sharma.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chinoy. So it has been a fruitful afternoon with reflections on possibilities and opportunities and very clearly leading the way towards further collaboration. And I'm extremely thankful for the remarks and directions provided by His Excellency Mr. Baoshuan Gair and DG Goranglal Das, and also by Mr. Tung and Mr. Modi. I'm also thankful to Mr. Isaac C. Chiu for his presence today, and also all the participants from Taiwan and Indian industry. So while I think we all have understood and all the speakers have spoken that how big this opportunity is, and we are kind of glad and welcome the bilateral trade and investment, I think our potential which we possess is immense. And three important topics of our focus of conversation today, and smart cities, we all understand. In simple terms, it can be divided into smart infrastructure. I think Taiwanese industry with its capabilities into devices and components, how to create connectivity seamlessly, has a massive capability. The second would be smart and connected living spaces itself, where people live. And then next would be kind of connected mobility. So when people start to move out of their living spaces and are mobile, and finally where people work, which is connected commercial spaces. I do understand that while India has a huge opportunity into all these because the penetration itself is very low in these areas, Taiwan has a lot of expertise. So I think a lot can happen here. And electric mobility is an integral part of this, of achieving this vision of smarter infrastructure or smarter living spaces or commercial spaces in the time to come. On the other hand, I think apart from the opportunities which we are going to discuss today, Mr. Tung also spoke about the necessity of creating resilient supply chains, which is also the agenda of our discussion. So therefore, we have to ensure that we take complete advantage of the forward-looking schemes of the government of India. And while the focus is very clearly on backward integration and also enabling design-led manufacturing to happen in the country, which is the R&D itself to start to happen in the country. Last many years, I think many schemes, much has been spoken today. I'll not be repetitive on that, but I think production-linked incentive schemes across the strategic sectors which are identified. Electronics cuts across almost all the applications, semiconductors, white goods, the components, the motors, the compressors, and while India is also going aggressive on products like drones and 5G technology is going to happen in the time to come, there is a massive opportunity out there. And these drivers and collaboration opportunity for India's economic engagement with Taiwan will still gain significance in the post-COVID scenario. This will not only strengthen our bilateral relationships, but also very importantly, work towards a better future for efficient global supply chains, which is the need of the hour, stability, and hence prosperity of billions of people in both the countries. FICCI has always been in the forefront of nurturing our mutual relationship. We focus on two important engagements. First is India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee meeting, and second is India-Taiwan Industrial Collaboration Summit. Over the years, we have evolved into these two important institutional mechanisms to promote our investment opportunities and also collaboration. FICCI also coordinates India's delegation to Taiwan during Titronics, which I am personally missing out for a couple of years. And I'm really looking forward to be part of the next Titronics when it happens and visit the beautiful country of Taiwan soon. I wish everyone to continue to take care and stay safe. And because very importantly, a mutually promising future awaits for all of us. Once again, many thanks for the participation today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Thank you for your remarks. I would like to thank each one of the dignitaries for their gracious presence and valuable remarks at the 19th joint meeting of the India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee. The virtual summit this year has been received very well. Let me also express our thanks to CIECA for partnering with FICCI for this 19th edition. Thank you, Mr. Gangadhar Das and His Excellency Mr. Gair, for both of you are playing a pivotal role in nurturing this relationship and investing your time in this and enabling this to actually grow by both making India an attractive investment destination and also encouraging companies from Taiwan to invest in India. Thank also Mr. Chow Chen Tung and Mr. Samir Modi, Mr. Manish Sharma for their leadership in driving the agenda of the India and Taiwan and pushing for greater integration. Would like to thank both the staff from both sides for their very effective coordination for this meeting. We have always nurtured the India-Taiwan business relationship, and we have actually two important business engagements with Taiwan, the India-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee meeting and the India-Taiwan Industrial Cooperation Summit. Both have become important landmarks of collaboration. We also collaborate and work with a delegation to Titronics. I hope that the deliberations today will serve to enhance our economic ties and would give an unprecedented impetus to the trade and investment relations in the short, medium, and long term. And in the immediate term, we can cooperate in actually addressing the spread and treatment of the COVID pandemic in India. Thank you very much. We will now shortly begin with the plenary sessions. Thank you. Keep well and keep safe.
Thanks, Ezri. Thanks, Ezri, for conducting this session, and thanks all the speakers. Now we'll straight away move to the our first plenary session, which is on a session on Indo-Pacific region and how we can achieve success in the supply chain resilience. So with this, actually, I would like to invite our first speaker there, Mr. Rudra Kumar Pandey, who's partner in one of the biggest law firms in India, Shardula Merchant Mangaldas. So over to you, Mr. Rudra Pandey, for your perspective on supply chain resilience and how India and Taiwan can collaborate to tap this opportunity which has come. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Gajendra. Thank you, Gajendra. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon from India to friends in Taiwan. So let me share my screen. Can you see the screen, Gajendra?
Yeah, it is perfect.
Okay.
You may go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, as all of us know that there has been a disruption in the global supply chain, of course, due to pandemic, which is largely the concern in these days. But there has been some concern in the past because of trade war between two big countries, the US and China. Now, so given this disruption across the countries, the several companies across several countries are considering to diversify and de-risk their strategies to move their manufacturing base, supply chains from China to other Asian countries. India is being there one of the favorites. There has been a research undertaken by Cushman Wakefield in 2020. In their report, they have highlighted India ranks third in the list of most suitable locations for global manufacturing among 48 countries in terms of cost competitiveness, operating conditions. The technological and economic prowess of Taiwan, coupled with India's established strength in manufacturing, liberalized foreign exchange laws, experience and active bureaucracy, its progressive, skilled, and highly educated workforce, and its large consumer base will further strengthen the enduring synergetic relationship between India and Taiwan. Several initiatives have been taken by the central government as well as the state governments in India towards adopting progressive policies for promoting industrial development and pushing India as a favorable destination for relocation and expansion. India is part of the supply chain resilience initiative with Japan and Australia, which is likely to boost um, the supply chain resilience in Indo-Pacific region and promote, expand, and diversify trade and foreign investment in key sectors such as automobiles, chemicals, petrochemicals, drugs and pharmaceuticals, textiles, IT services, etc.
Rudra, you
So
may also, sorry to intervene, but you may switch on your camera just for the benefit of
okay, somehow
participants.
there's a difficulty.
It's
Dheeraj, can
okay.
you share the screen? Can you share the slides so that
Yeah, we will share from our Dheeraj, you may please share the slides.
sorry about the technical inconvenience to all of you. Yeah, maybe we can move to the next slide, please. The fourth slide, please. Third slide, please. Yeah. So India and Taiwan has their economic relationship for the past 25 years. There has been already some of the speakers highlighted. There have been a good inflow from Taiwan to India. And on a cumulative basis in the last 20 years, though the number is very small, and we hope to see a larger number in terms of as comparing for Taiwanese investment in other Asian countries. So on cumulative basis, Taiwan has only invested about $400 million in India so far. But there has been an increase in the last 2 years, I'll say, and the growth is probably 10 times in comparison to the previous years. India and Taiwan have signed several memorandum, including a memorandum on industrial collaboration for strengthening ties in the fields of industry, investment, technical cooperation, and the MOU between Indian Society of Manufacturers of Electric Vehicles, and Taiwan External Trade Development Council to develop electric vehicles. The Taiwan government new southbound policy, which is basically targeting and letting the Taiwanese companies to look at countries like India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam, with a distinct focus on a local population technology. And also at the same time, the Indian government Act policy provides a framework for greater engagement between India and Southeast Asia, which also offers opportunities to Taiwanese companies. With the integration of these two policies of respective countries, we are hopeful that this will promote economic and strategic ties within Asia-Pacific region and also further strengthen India-Taiwan economic relationship. We can move to the next slide, Dheeraj. We have seen a lot of key investment in the recent past from Taiwan, including from Delta Electronics, Mytech, Evergreen, CSRC, Fengte, Maxis, CDC, Wistron, Foxon, Fairfriend Group, CTBC, and Camco. And these include from industries such as IT industry, tires, banking, construction, textiles, steel, agro products, synthetic rubber, etc. Recently, Taiwan Luxshare has announced that they will make investment in India in Tamil Nadu state, and also they will revive the defunct Motorola factory, and they are close to investing $100 million. Similarly, for promoting Taiwan-India relation, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka have set up their investment facilitation cells with Taiwan desk and representative from Taiwanese trade bodies and companies. India and Taiwan also signed a bilateral investment agreement in 2018 that is helping India to receive more investment from Taiwan. We can move to the next slide. India's role in Asia and Pacific region. India, through its engagement in regional initiatives like SAARC, BIMSTEC, and by engaging with ASEAN, Australia, Japan, US, is increasingly expanding its role in Asia Pacific region. India is progressing from being an Indian Ocean powerhouse to a country which is embedded in the global supply chains of the Asia Pacific. In this regard, India, with its large market, technical prowess, and cheap labor, can play an important role in the global supply chain in Asia Pacific region. We can move to the next slide, please. I mean, as we have already talked about, and several of the speakers have already covered this aspect, that the government of India, in order to attract investment from various countries, including from Taiwan, they have introduced a PLI scheme, which is called Production Linked Incentive Scheme. This is an incentive scheme which varies from 4 to 6% of the incentive on the incremental sales of the goods manufactured in India, and they have been a wide range of sectors covered, which also includes electronic and technology products, automobiles and components, telecom, pharmaceuticals, textiles, food products, etc. Several Taiwanese companies have already availed such benefit, and just to name few, the Apple suppliers like Foxconn, Rising Star, Wistron, Pegatron have shifted to India under the PLI scheme with Foxconn, and where in fact Foxconn is aiming to invest close to $1 billion in India. Pegatron also intends to invest about $100 million in India. Wistron also planning to expand their business in India in the Karnataka sector state. Apart from that, the central government, on ease of doing business in India and also to give more impetus to the foreign investors, they are setting up a centralized single window system, which is likely to be launched in a few weeks' time, which will not only help the investors to get state approvals, but also the central approvals for all central licenses and permit that is required. India has further liberalized the foreign direct investment policy in India. Most of the sectors are liberalized, which are an automatic route. No approval of the government is required, and also only few sectors which are subject to the government approval. One of the key initiatives by the Indian government in the recent past is to reduction in the corporate tax rate, which has come down to 15% from 22%, and with for the new investment in the manufacturing sector. With this change, India now has one of the lowest corporate tax rates globally. We can move to this next slide, please. Apart from that, as already highlighted by a few of the speakers, there has been a key impetus on the industrial township targeting the Taiwanese manufacturing companies. And just to name few, Tamil Nadu has a large cluster of Taiwanese companies and looking to further investment in India. Currently, 3 Taiwan electric manufacturing clusters have been established, in one in UP, which is in Greater Noida, then in one is Bangalore as IT park, and also in Andhra Pradesh, City. There has been a trade expo where the company to company meetings have been being held to assist the company to identify a JV partner and how to collaborate on the technology front, how to expand their business in India. And this happened recently last year only as a Taiwan Expo. In order to again give impetus to the Taiwan investment, the government of India has set up a Taiwan Plus, again to support the initiative or the key concern faced by the Taiwanese government or the companies vis-a-vis doing business in India. We can move to the next slide, please. I mean, just to give you one more example that how India is also done the liberalization to support these initiatives. They have making several policy initiatives. They have been making amendment to the existing legislation, even like a regular non-compliance from if you're doing an operating in India, if you are not able to comply on a regular kind of routine non-compliance, they have decriminalized the offenses under such non-compliances to only fine and penalty without any criminal consequences or infringement in India. So far, Taiwan contribution to development of supply chain, as all of us know, Taiwan has been instrumental, at least in the Asian countries and other growing economies, supporting with the support from its technology and also innovation. Taiwan has been instrumental in part of a main instrumental part of the developing the supply chain. Taiwan ranks #1 in patent activity, #10 in economic innovation, in addition to being a world-leading semiconductor supplier and a technology giant, and that accounts to about 90% of the world laptops which are manufactured by 5 Taiwanese firms. Services constitute around 60% of Taiwan GDP. By the transfer of technology and funds, Taiwan has played an important role in promoting the country receiving investments from it and to garner a greater role in global supply chains. While, as per the report of the United Nations in 2020, overall Taiwan cumulative FDI outside Taiwan is close to $362 billion. And if you look at India's interest is only $400 million. So if we expect that at least 5 to 10% diversion of such FDI from Taiwan to India will give a lot of strength between the business relation between India and Taiwan, and also helping, creating a supply chain which is more helping the Asian countries, and also India and Taiwan will help their relations to go further. Taiwan can position itself favorably in the next few years. So far, India is concerned, taking the advantage of India's digital revolution and growing demand for high-tech products to manufacture some goods in India and gain market share for its firm and help Taiwanese government jumpstart, which happened, like they had a plan to be 2016 Asian Silicon Valley Development Plan, which aims to promote innovation related to the Internet of Things and Taiwanese, entrepreneur development. We can move to the next slide, please. Just to give you a reflection that while India, with a lot of policy initiatives, has ranked quite advanced in terms of the ease of doing business in India, which can be seen from this slide. And this is again pre-pandemic. If you look at the post-pandemic and the revolution or the policy initiative by the government in the recent past, probably wherever we still like ease of doing at 63, we will be at least at 50 or maybe 40. So that will come soon. Can we move to the next slide, please? So, going forward, one of the initiative is the initiative between Australia, Japan, and India, where they have the key focus on the supply chain is for the Indo-Pacific region. These three countries recognize the pressing need for regional cooperation and on supply chain resilience in the Indo-Pacific, and agreed on achieving this resilience through cooperation and by calling on other like-minded countries to join the initiative. SCRI is aimed towards attracting investments and protecting global trade from regional and global stocks and India. Taiwan ties can be utilized for taking this initiative further. A report issued in 2020 by McKinsey, Risk, Resilience, and Rebalancing in Global Value Chain indicated that under threats of trade disputes, cyber attacks, pandemics, and a number of climate-related events, companies in the next 3 to 5 years might move production of a quarter of global goods to new countries. Again, this report says that up to 16 to 20%, 26%, which is close to $3 trillion to $5 trillion, will divest and de-risk to some other countries. Keeping the market potential aside, the cheap labor cost in India as compared to its peers is an important focus point for Taiwanese investors. India and Taiwan can nurture and strengthen a closer partnership based on relocating manufacturing capacities to which it is likely to result in job creation. And therefore, the potential of India and Taiwan relation is immense. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Rudra, for highlighting the opportunities and clearly highlighting the need of moving this global manufacturing value chain and India becoming part of that global manufacturing value chain through supply chain resilience initiative. May I now invite Mr. Cliff Kung, Analyst, Market Intelligence and Consulting Institute. Over to you, Mr. Cliff Kung.
Hi everyone, and thanks Mr. Ruda today's sharing. And today I'm going to elaborate this topic by a bigger and overlay point of view to try to introduce the supply chain resilience to the Taiwan and India as well. So the first is that if we talk about the supply chains resembling, it's not a very big it's big news right now, but for the past few years, it's not that important to all kind of country. Because first, let's say we just have a made in China's options, and everyone just take it for granted because the cost, because the environment, because all kind of reason. So eventually, we have just one business model, which is just made in China and ship the product to other markets. But later, we can say the stage two. The stage two is all about the US and China trade war. And that caused the traffic very, very high. And that makes some factory move out of China. But mainly, it just produced in China and shipped to other places to reassemble. So that's the stage two. But right now, we are facing the stage three. The stage three is all about the COVID-19. COVID-19 just shut down all the factories in China, and not only in China, other countries, their supply chains, their distributor, their vendor is not working as well. So right now we are trying to figure out the other options, like the other made in China options, which is like made in India or other business model to keep the business running. And in the futures, we can say they will have like a stage 4 or the stage 5. The stage 4 is about they are going to boost the economic first before they have a trade war or other options to US and China. But eventually, they are just start to do some thing about that because we saw there are some conflict with China and US economic. That just basically the two countries, they are going to have a strongly strategy to the national security level to protect their supply chains. So more likely the stage 5 is going to happen, which is they are going to raise maybe the tariff, or maybe they just say it's national security issue and try to ban all kind of products from each other. And that caused a very, very problem to each other country and other supply chain as well. So right now, if you take an example like a notebook or maybe server and other products, we can say the US almost hold the information service and key component companies like a CPU, GPU, DRAM, etc. But if you look at China, they also have like a similar strategy as well. But if you look at the middle part, the middle strand, which is system design and manufacturing, as we say like ODM, OEM, EMS, these models, this stage is held by the Taiwan companies, and they become very, very crucial because they have to assembling all kind of product to other countries. Same thing happened in server as well. So like server, we have more components and it's more complicated. But if we divide by different country, we can say still Taiwan produce more server than others country as well, just like a notebook. So Taiwan's factory move to another places is a big deal for the ICT supply chains and to China, to US as well. So the next part is about like central environment catalyze change the supply chains. The first is the traffic, as I mentioned before, the stage 2. But later we facing a new crisis, COVID-19. That actually hurt the demand of the market because the product can ship to other countries and because the people just can't work as well. But later they start to boost the economy and by the work from home, just as we do right now. The work from home is a new model for a kind of countries and companies as well. And that becomes more fundamental of a new tech. And a lot of companies just using the work from home strategy for the future. Even COVID-19 isn't exist anymore. And that brings up an interesting question, which is the bullwhip effect and the overbooking. The bullwhip effect is that, let's say the supply chains has to be like suppliers, factory, distributor, vendor, and customer. And some suppliers find out that maybe just one vendor order more 5% or maybe that's 5%. And the distributor will have a same prediction as well. And that makes a very huge difference from the customers. And that difference are going to increase steps by steps. And at the end, the suppliers cannot really read the whole picture. They might figure it out the result will very different from the customer. And that happened in all kind of country, in all kind of supply chains right now. For example, like a car. As we know, there decreased demand before the 2021. So the bullwhip effect, in fact, the whole car supply chains, they can't get any chips right now, and the other components is start to shortage. And that makes the other distributor or maybe others vendors start to book more. And that makes the overbooking effect immediately and impact all kind of supply chains right now. So we are facing a new crisis, and the main fundamental problem is that we have a very simple, just aligned supply chains. We say it's like a just-in-time supply chains model. It's invented by Toyota, and it works very well past few years. But right now, we're facing a new crisis, and we have to figure out another business model. And we say it's like a just-in-case business model. So we have more, we have to increase more inventory. We have make the transparency of the data more fast and more reliable to each other as well. And that makes the pull and the push theory more interesting. Like India, for example, they have all kind of resources like workers and land and others reasons to make the company to go to there to invest more. And especially they have a PLI, that strategy to increase all kind of different industry to go to there to make more supply chains, new model in their country as well. So if we talk about the whole ICT supply chains, we can divide it by each component, like upstream, middle stream, and at the end. And as we know that the bigger components, maybe like a panel, display, keyboard, or other components like to move faster than a small component. It's because they don't have enough resource like other ODM. So like PCB, PCBA, or other smaller components like a power IC or others, they have to wait another big companies to invest more, and they will follow them later. And now brings up the interesting questions, like some companies are going to stay in China for sure, but because their market and there's others potential benefit from it. The problem is if the company just import and export model, that won't appear anymore because they can get enough, or maybe just like a material or other issues that will ban from the US, or maybe just national security from the other country, that they don't do that anymore. So that create a problem. And eventually, if you have a factory or maybe you run a business in China, you will just focus on a target on a China market only. So the other question is leaving China. So if we look at the answer of metrics, we can say there are all kind of reasons and all kind of possible ways. And the interesting way is the reassembly. Some factory leaving China and they are going to move to other countries, which is like India or others countries. And the system part is US lead and the other part is China lead. So that becomes a separately supply chain model. So reassembly supply chain model and separately supply chain model, that make the supply chain more balkanization. And balkanization is mean that like supply chains, instead of working together, they start to compete with each other. They just want more resources and they want more self-sufficiency, all kind of reason. And that makes the companies more challenging to each others. So in the futures, we try to have a more resilient supply chains, and that makes the business model have to be more transparent. As I said before, the data have to be transparent to all kind of the steps. Like a distributor has to know the supplier situation, and the factory has to know the customer situation. All kind of reason they have to open that, but that increase the another level of challenge to each other. So that is not easy, and that is not happening right now, but they are not going to make that work later. Maybe just 2022 or 2023, they'll have a new business model and more reliance than before. So in conclusion, we say there are around three strands of the supply chains. One is follow, the second is value, and the last one is expand. So what is follow? Follow is mean that they are going to follow the big brand, information service brand like Apple, maybe Facebook, maybe Google. Some people will stay in China. Some people will go to another country, and the supply chain will follow them as well. The second one is the value. They just try to find a better place to make the cost priority for them, and maybe just finding more core tendencies, which is like invest new tech, or maybe just like industry 4.0. And the last one is expand. The expand means that they want to increase more, invest as a new tech, maybe just like AR, VR, or others new trends. Instead of like a smart speaker or TWS, others is technology, they want to focus on the future, and they want to combine with the new market as well. So that brings up the three trends of the supply chains. And in the futures, we will say the value part will be very interesting to the India or other countries, because if you talk it out value, you will have to invest more on maybe 3D printing or other automations, and that becomes more competence than before, which is like artificial intelligence is more crucial than before, and that makes a cost more, maybe the risks will be more reliable to each other in the future. So right now we see the next generation supply chain. Before we always focus on the cost and the money and other reasons, but right now we have to focus on the risks. So there is not going to be just one manufacturing model, which is like before, and we have to make it a distance shorter than before, and the products will be more customized than before, and that becomes more and more important to all kind of steps of the supply chains, not even in the ICT, maybe in other supply chain as well. So the next one will be the conclusions. So if you stay in the China, the opportunity is obviously, and there are challenges is obviously, but the interesting part is the opportunity part. Living in China and being in China is no longer the mainstream. It's like a common sense to all kind of countries and to all kind of companies right now. And that makes the supply chains move faster than before, and they will target on the new tech more intuitive than before. And that's it. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Mr. Kung. Thanks for breaking it down for the benefit of all the audience and giving a detailed account of how the supply chain resilience actually works, and how companies from India and Taiwan can actually benefit by going a little deeper and doing and strategizing better. Now, I think we are running a little late, so we will straight away move to the next plenary session, and which is on cooperation and investment opportunities between India and Taiwan in smart city and electric vehicles. So here we have with us Mr. Ashish Khare, General Manager and Global Practice Head of IoT and Smart Cities from Wipro. Wipro again is like if you give Wipro actually started with an oil business and then moved ahead to the innovation and high tech space as well. Means one of the biggest IT companies and also venturing into this innovation and technology space. So over to you, Mr. Kare.
Thanks, Gajendra. Good day to you all. I'll quickly get into some of the background in terms of what India is doing from a smart cities perspective, including smart city mission, and then the progress which is done till date. While there are many open areas for investment going forward, and then what are the various models which we work in. If you look at India's focus on smart cities, while the whole thing as a programmatic manner started some 6.5 years back, things were aligned primarily to the certain basic goals. While quality of life remains at the center point, sustainability, disaster management, resilience, and technology enablement have been the fulcrum points. Considering those and the state of specific city from a historical background perspective, the core business or core DNA perspective, it was divided between various themes, including, say, heritage hub, knowledge hub, financial city, tourism city. While some, of course, were a mix of various themes, depending on how the city culture has been. And then various infrastructure was looked at. Detailed analysis was done by the city developers and consultants. And then areas were identified where investment has to be done in priority levels. There were total 100 cities were chosen at a launch of Smart City Mission. But this program is continuing. Initial program was for 5 years. It is continuing, being supported by central government and also further enhanced by state governments and local bodies. There are many other cities which are taken up beyond these smart city mission initiative for specific smart city initiatives from a technology track perspective, from problem area redressal perspective. So overall portfolio is much bigger, while investments might be done or say initiatives might be taken by different government entities. Focus was on as-is study, requirement analysis, and then finally getting into the solution approach and phase-wise implementation. If we look at the mission cities, initial phases are already done in all these mission cities based on their priorities. Some had gone ahead with ICT-based initiative as priority 1. Some other cities have gone ahead with basic infrastructure priorities, including creating a bus corridor or creating waste management basic system and infrastructure or enhancing the same. And then various enablers were taken into account while planning all these projects. Even if it is taken in initial phase or it is in later phase, city management has been taken as a critical component by all these cities. So enabling citizen services, ensuring that overall city services are managed quite well, and decision making is assisted by systems and faster has been the key. And that is one of the reasons why in first wave of pandemic, these cities could react much better, and even in second stage phase of pandemic, things are better than what it could have been otherwise, because these technologies could be utilized or repurposed for COVID command center, and then integration of various systems could enable faster response to various citizen needs. But there is a lot which still need to be done. It's not that journey is over. Its journey is on, some initiatives are done, many other initiatives are in pipeline. If we look at open spaces for investment, while public safety by and large has been invested by most of the cities, integrated command control center with 3 to 5 use cases, depending on their priority, has been done by a majority of the cities. And so is connectivity and basic command center infrastructure. But building up further layer on it in terms of analytics and artificial intelligence, in terms of water utilities, sustainability initiatives, because this is a area which India as a country is investing big time and is a focus area for government entities, cities, as well as various enterprises and public sector and private sectors in India. So sustainability initiatives are picking up and are open area for investment going forward. Citizen service enhancement is another area which people are working on and can be focused further. And so is enhancement on city services from day-to-day operation perspective, which comes from 3D modeling and city twin, and also gives a lever to plan city future projects better. So this is one area from a city twin perspective or digital twin perspective, which many cities are exploring and are at different stages. Some are in pilot or POC stage, some are in conceptualization and design stages, but definitely an area which will expand as we go. Plus many other initiatives which some cities have not taken, whether it is in terms of waste or it is in terms of traffic management or the parking, that will pick up and will be covered in years to come. Besides cities, there are also other associated initiatives which may not be with the corporation but are important from overall development and citizen quality of service perspective. Includes highway management, which is on track or on roadmap of auto tolling and traffic compliances and violations and safety, etc. Utilities, whether it is power and water, from AMI, AMR, HES standpoint. Use of IoT-based transformation initiatives in various public sectors for enhancing their current services and changing the way they handle operations. The building automation, management and maintenance across sectors and focused on public sector buildings, government buildings as such. Plus investments on airports and ports from a transformation perspective. While some new airports are coming, old airports also are going through major transformation drive, which comes with PPP kind of investments as well as institutional investments. If we look at financial modeling, India is wide open from different model options perspective. While standard way of working in smart cities is 5 years supply, installation, testing, commissioning contracts, which is done through bidding, which can be either a quality come commercial based, or can be two bid system where technical qualification and then lowest bid is considered. Good part is that consortiums are promoted rather than allowed, so that cities get right combination of vendors fulfilling their requirements. Because it is difficult for any single company to have all expertise in-house. So instead of one company taking up with 30% expertise and then downloading the rest of the job, it is more like a consortium where various experts come together and deliver the results. Besides this, CAPEX-based projects and OPEX-based projects both are welcome. And move or shift from CAPEX to OPEX is happening fast. which can be a standard OPEX or can be a public-private partnership based. So if we look at the way things are aligned, cities or government is pretty open in terms of various financial modeling. And we are free to go proactively to them and suggest various models. Of course, if we are going with OPEX models or PPP model, those are the most welcome because that helps them in organizing their funds better, prioritizing or say moving some of the projects upfront, which otherwise in capex-based projects they might have to defer. So trust on these models is higher, but there is a good chunk of business which is happening in standard models of 5-year SITC contracts. I can be reached out to for any kind of further discussion on this ID. And thanks for all of you for attending this session. Thanks, Gajendra, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Khare. Thanks for giving this broad perspective and highlighting opportunities in India in smart city sector. May I now invite Mr. James Chiao, Chairman of Smart City Committee of SIECA, Taiwan, on basically highlighting cooperation and the opportunities there between Taiwan and India in smart city sector. Over to you, Mr. James.
Remote control 不在台上。Oh. All right. Good afternoon for in Taipei and in India. It's my pleasure to be here to share with our experience working on smart city project from Taiwan with India. As introduced by our previous speakers, India Prime Minister Modi has listed smart city policy as the core of his governance since 2014. And he committed to build 100 smart cities to address the urbanization problem caused by the very quick India's population growth. And as mentioned by previous presentations, that there will be the infrastructure building will be about $700 billion in the market. And a lot of need on the infrastructure, particularly like water supply, smart traffic management equipment, smart parking, and smart street lighting, as mentioned by the previous speakers, and air pollution monitoring, and smart medical devices, which are really could be working with Taiwan manufacturing, of course, and e-buses. That's what we are working with our Indian partners. The e-mobility in India, that's what we're working on. India's FAM2 was introduced in 2019, 2 years ago. It has 100 billion rupees, about 3.7 billion NT dollars from the Indian government to as a subsidy to help the manufacturing of the e-mobility buses, showing this the map. Okay, oops, the map disappeared. Oh, or the color is not right. I'm sorry, not something showing. But in any event, this table is supposedly to show you that India the subsidy program for 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler, 4-wheeler buses, and it's about totally about 7,000 e-buses in this program. That's what we are working with. Okay, and as mentioned previously, the PLI program introduced April last year. Really, it's a big incentive for foreign investor and manufacturing to go into India. As I work with some Taiwanese manufacturers, that because in the past, India has interstate taxation which really prevent foreign manufacturer to really doing business in India, which has been eliminated. There's a unified tax now, and also introduced last year, which is overshadowed by the pandemic issue. But the PLI, which offer 4 to 6% for the manufacturer, really trying to encourage foreign manufacturer working with a local India manufacturer to produce goods in India. And you can see that there are 10 sectors, and it's a really good incentive for people, whoever interested. Oh, this is the table to show you. All right. And okay, and what we are working with our partner right now is a project to develop 350 acres for the Taiwan Plus India Innovation Park to bring in Taiwanese manufacturer for e-buses and to form a JV or called SPV in Indian terms, special purpose vehicle, into this industry park. And this is the first case. We are working with 5 different states in India on various e-mobility and smart city project. Showing here, this is one of our partner on the e-buses. It's a master bus company in Taiwan, and we are starting to manufacture buses for this e-mobility program projects. So this is what we are going to help our Indian partner with smart, secure, green, and resilient local solutions for our Indian smart. So what we are going to introduce to you is we are using a 3D smart city platform, or we can call it AI drone 3D model or AD3 platform to our smart city or smart industry partners. So we're working on with drone as a service and the robotics and the 3D model that we can use linking with all kinds of industry. So basically, we have resolved the true color of the better world of our 3D model. As you can see, the resolution is very, very detailed for 1 to 5 cm. So this is a professional 3D modeling solution, and we can use this as a scenario planning for your industry park, for your community, for your company, or as an e-city sandbox. And this solution uses a 3D high precision maps, satellite, radar, and street map, and also surveillance and BIM, which is a building information management, and all kinds of data sensor. We can address responding to all kinds of solution needs from all kinds of industries. This solution has been used in Europe to fly over almost 28,000 square kilometers over about 120 cities using the 1 to 5 cm resolution. As you can see that because we use the AI neural network, so it's an automatic process and can automatic repair the damaged maps. And also because it use the technology we use, it can remove or separate the independent, like a particular building or particular area of your industry park or your area. You can see here the resolution really crystal clear because it's a 1 to 5 cm. If you play computer games, you know right now the computer gaming is really, really nice, all kinds of objects. But this is a little bit different from that. That is still a game. But this is a realistic because the precision, as you can see that we can use the technology, we can quickly put in the information together, and we can generate the information, the map quickly. And one of the architect professor I talked to, she heard about AI and she designed the 3D model as a traditional manual way. So she asked me, what can this do for her? For example, she want to do a illogical building site, for example. So this one, of course, it can do. You can see that you can do the regular measurement, drawing, flight control, and you can do all the sunshine analysis. You can see that, and visual field analysis, and can do a special effect like water fountain, a different special effect I can show you a little bit later. And this is something we are working with the Ministry of Transportation in Taiwan. You can see that the control center get information and send a drone to the highway accident scene, and the drone will collect the information, build a 3D model, send back to the control center, and the control center will use the information, send it to the police and send to an insurance company. So basically, this will effectively reduce the traffic incident and the death caused by the incident. Of course, can reduce the highway congestion effectively. And this is what it shows you the real scene of the helicopter crash site. You can see how detailed it will be. So we can really use a drone fly over. We produce a 3D site. We can have a very clear understanding of the crash site, and we can do a much better rescue or management of the incident. We built this as a highway 3D model example. As you can see that we use camera, laser, different information to get sensor to get the data. As you can see that in the regular highway accident site, and we need a policeman to go to measure the data, which is dangerous and not efficient. So we use this new technology. We can manage the data much better and comprehensive, more efficient to get all the data we need for the crash site or for the accident site, and much more safer and more efficient. Okay, and this is the sandbox we can produce it, like we can show you basically. Okay, so this is like we can use a 3D model. It looks like you can use everything you did with a 2-dimension with your Google Map, GIS map, but now just using the 3D dimension, you can do your measurement, and you can do your scenario analysis. I call it, you can look at your community, your city, your industry part from a glass angle or bird's eye. You can twist, manage angle and different kind of degree, and you can do your scenario analysis in the very, very realistic 3D model view to see how you can manage or what kind of program, what kind of problem you have in your city or your industry park, as you can see that here. And then we can show you that this is very realistic of the model, and you can do the management, of course, and the planning. And then you can see how the sunshine change the spatial effect on your city, for example, that we can simulate the sunshine, and we can simulate the wind, we can simulate different things that you want to build, understand with your community, with your building. See that the simulation of the 24 hours, the lighting change, and you can help the architect, urban planner can change that, and you can do a simulation of different possible building or environment in your park. Okay, so but how we can use that as a smart city, and we actually demonstrate in the pilot city, we collect about 80,000 sensor data together, and you can see that again, we can put out all the information together with your 2-dimension ITS, all the sensor data. This is like an industry park. Of course, industry park, what do you want to do with the safety, with our environment? And you can use all kinds of angles. You can view your industry park. You can see where is your evacuation road, for example, right? And also this show you that how we can use a real vehicle maneuver with overlay with your 3D model, because the 3D model is so realistic. So we can put a virtual and real thing all together. We can do all the measurement together and do the much more efficient asset management. Now, of course, smart city has all kinds of sensor, and this case is about 80,000 sensor with a lot of camera, and this is to show how the garbage collection distribution, and we can even go to a single garbage site, see how they collect the data, the garbage distribution, and this is for your building violation or all kinds of violation in your city, how your management, like the picture of the violation of the building, and how your government agency trying to intend to address the violation. And here, then you can see that all the illegal vendor or illegal activity on the street, and you can, as long as the city has all the sensor or the data and not against the privacy issue, and you can put information like this is a pollution, you have all kinds of pollution sources in your city, you can monitor that if they did a violation. And this is particularly important is for your long-term care, senior citizen care, and also we can have like a fire or disaster rescue, so we can have the building structure, we can know who are in this, how many people, how many households in this particular building, so we can have a firewall, we can rescue, we can do a much better rescue and during the disaster. Of course, the smart city has all kinds of information of incident. We can collect the historical information like Taipei's citizen 1999 information. So we can put all the information, we can predict what might happen in the city, but now all the information on the dashboard and with our 3D model together, so we can much more efficient to manage our city. So, and finally, okay, it's very quickly, not only we can do smart city, but we can do smart factory. And now we can show you how the smart factory we could look like. And that means we can do a digital twin. We can get is a digital representation of your factory, your production line, your machinery, and you can do a much better smart factory. And so basically this we call AD3 platform is a real precise 1 to 5 cm, and it's only simplified, very simple, no coding needed. It's very important because we use AI and we connect with all the AIoT. So basically no coding needed. So that means we can do it very quickly, very realistically, arrange linking with a wide range of applications. And so this is really could be a platform for our smart city. We're working with our Indian partner. So that is something we can work with very quickly. And so what we're doing is basically is a Taiwan Smart Solution. We hope we can work with our Taiwan manufacturers. We work together to support our team, work together to offer our international partner with a smart, secure, green, and resilient solution, which we have a lot of the Taiwan smart solution, and we can work together. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chiao. So I think you have a fan following in India for some reason, because you know the kind of solutions which you give is something that we all are aspiring. So these are real future looking initiatives, and so we all look forward to working with you on implementing some of those initiatives in India. So now we have another speaker, Ms. Ritu Ghosh from Panasonic. She would highlight the investment opportunities, especially in electric vehicle space. So over to you, Ritu.
Thank you, Gajen. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Can I request for my presentation? Can I request Dheeraj to please upload the presentation? Thank you. Thank you so much. Distinguished panelists, guests, my colleagues from Taiwan and India, a very good afternoon. So as clearly we have seen that electric vehicles is one of the key focus areas for collaboration we saw in the inaugural session. Let us now see that what could be the opportunities that are available in India, and there could be a fruitful collaboration. Next slide, please. So as we can see, India to be the world's third largest automotive market in volume by 2026. India holds a very strong, please the previous slide only. India holds a very strong position in the international heavy vehicles arena as well. India is the largest tractor manufacturer, it is the second largest bus manufacturer, and a third largest heavy trucks manufacturers in the world. Next slide, please. So as we see, While this electric vehicle is an opportunity, but obviously worldwide, there are many common compelling factors for the electric vehicle mobility system to evolve. The key factors, as we are all aware, one of them is a rising pollution level. And in the current situation, we are all aware that how the rising pollution levels are really causing detriment to the health, and how health has taken a prime position. Not only this, how the impact to the environment can further impact the health of all of us. So it becomes really important that worldwide we come together and see that how the mobility systems can evolve. Further to this, also, yes, there is a crude oil accounts that are compelling us, and the urbanization as we grow. By 2030, 40% of the India's population will live in cities. So from that perspective, yes, there are compelling factors for the mobility system to evolve. Next slide, please. So while there are compelling factors, let's also see that what are the positive indicators that make the Indian market a very opportune one. The EV market is expected in India to grow at a CAGR of 44% between now till 2027. And a market size of $50 billion for financing of EVs is going to be evolving in 2030. That has been identified, which means about 80% of the current size of India's retail vehicle financing is going to be focused towards EV. That's the trend we'll see. India has been registering a healthy growth of 6.26% in automobiles, and the vehicle penetration is also on the rise, especially the two-wheeler and the three-wheelers penetration. So all these positive indicators over and above what is the need of the hour make it a very lucrative market. Next slide, please. Now we will be looking at the opportunities that are created through the key drivers that are pushing towards these opportunities. And I would want to speak about them under three headings. One is there has been a really positive policy framework that has been there in India. And few of the speakers, when they spoke about smart cities, they've already spoken about it, the different schemes that exist. Secondly, we will also talk about, we know India is a federal system. That means there are many states. So the participation by states, encouragements by the states is an equally important factor when we talk about the key drivers that will drive the ecosystem for EVs. Not only this, all the different stakeholders within the government and the industry have come together under one umbrella to make this initiative a very unique one. So let's see one by one how we have these key drivers working and playing. Next slide, please. So here, as we can see that the central government has been promoting electric mobility in India. The government focus is very clear. 85% of the new sales across vehicle in the next 10 years is going to be focused towards the EV. So we see one of the key drivers and the positive framework to encourage adoption of EV from the government, which is also enabling the ecosystem, which has both policies and incentivizing schemes. As a focus, we also see that policies are there to support and set up the giga plants, not only for the vehicles, but also for the batteries, which are going to be an important element of electric vehicle. The building bylaws by the Ministry of Urban Development are there to enable infrastructure for charging, both in residential as well as in commercial places. Over and above these, there are very encouraging incentivization schemes. While the examples that I took are towards the positive policy regime, encouragement through enhancing affordability is also being seen where the GST, the tax regime, we see has got a lot of deliberation happening, and there's a lot of leeway that's there where the GST on electric vehicle and charging has been reduced to 5% from 12%, 18% respectively. Further, for enabling the services for electric vehicle, there has been a GST exemption on the services for them. As we're also aware, and my earlier panelists, they spoke about this, that the FAME policy has been in play. I would like to apprise that these FAME policies are a part of a bigger agenda of the government, which is National Electric Mobility Mission Plan, which is enabling the ecosystem through subsidies. And as the name suggests, it is FAME stands for faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. So not only is there enablement for manufacturing where the investment can be seen, but also it will entail the faster adoption of the electric vehicles. And to have the figures, as we already know, that it's approximately USD 14 billion or 10,000 crores that is there in the budgetary outlay. And we have targeted of the 7,000 e-buses, 5 lakh three-wheelers, then 555,000 four-wheelers, 10 lakh two-wheelers. So those are the big numbers that are there in the kitty. Apart from this, we also see that there has been lot of initiative that goes with respect to encouraging the adoption. That means the demand side of the adoption of electric vehicles. Next slide, please. Now, as we move further, moving from what policies the central government has, as I mentioned, the role of state governments plays an equally important role, and it is a great enabler. So we see that 10 states have already notified a policy for electric vehicle, and 6 others are there in the draft stage of the formulation of policies for better adoption of electric vehicles and their manufacturing. This ensures that there will be further incentives and enablers like skilling the workforce, mobilizing the startup ecosystem, and also scrapping the policy for ICE vehicles, the historic vehicles that are there. So all these policies are a forward-looking approach in this particular direction. Next slide, please. The third enabling factor that is very, very important is the collaborative approach. The policy schemes and the future roadmap that we saw just now is an outcome of the ongoing efforts of different ministries and departments under the Government of India. Each one with their own role and set of responsibilities is making this ecosystem attractive, promising for the industry to invest and unleash the opportunity. Niti Aayog, which mandated to set up the transformative mobility mission for India. We have Department of Heavy Industries, which is a nodal ministry for auto manufacturing and FAME policy implementation. Then we have the ministry, which is responsible for the setup of the EV charging station. As I already mentioned, there's Ministry of Urban Development, which deals into land and building reforms for allocation of spaces for public and private charging stations. Then we have ministry, which ensures availability of serviceability of charging infrastructure and also the norms for intercity travel. Then we have Department of Science and Technology, which promotes new technology for battery storage. We have Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, which deals into scaling of energy storage in India and adopting alternative new renewable mechanisms. Then we have Ministry of Finance, which is responsible for allocation of funds for all these schemes that are been announced by the government, which I have discussed. Next slide, please. This presentation will be halfway and will not be complete. My talking points will not be complete unless I mention the PLI scheme, which is there currently. The production linked incentive scheme, as we know, was the government's initiative to announce it for certain key and strategic and priority sectors. And I'm glad to share that the auto sector is one of the identified priority and strategic sectors under the Government of India list. And hence it sees its mention under the PLI scheme, which aims to remove sectoral disabilities, build scale, and build efficiencies. So it is important to understand here that PLI will be a great enabler. It's what is the full and overall mandate that the PLI entails or stores is that the sectoral disabilities have to be removed while we build large scale. So undoubtedly, the invitation for investment is very, very clear. The incentivization of the incremental sales year-on-year basis to the tune of 4 to 7% under the PLI scheme will translate to a very encouraging return vis-a-vis the investment made. the conversion rate of the incentives vis-a-vis investment is really, really very attractive. And we all know there's a budgetary outlay that is over 500 billion that's there in store. So the PLI scheme is another reflection of the collaborative efforts that happen between all the ministries, where there was a deep dive taken and there was a plan articulated to see that how industry can become more and more competitive. Next slide, please. So while we spoke about the different enablers and key drivers that push it, we can also see that sales of the EV since 2016 have been showing an upward trend. Not only that, on the right-hand side of your slide, you can see that the number of players in the industry and the kind of players in the industry is on the expansion from year-on-year basis. And there's a lot of interest in the industry. Next slide, please. Keeping up with the going trend, the EV market is expected to be at 27 billion, where the investment is distributed as per the categories which are shown here. So it is a sum of the investment that can come into home charging, into supercharging, destination charging. Then you have service centers, stores, you have vehicle plants. There's a provision for a gigafactory for charging, for the cell charging. There are new technologies which are invited, and amidst all the key economic boosters and factors which will impact the ground implementation and consumer sentiments, we are also considering that what could be the other factors. So here, if you can see, there are standards for charging which are very, very important to give clarity at the implementation level. And we understand also that there is right now currently where the consumer sensitivity comes across is high upfront vehicle cost that is there. But we believe as more investment come in, as the industry scales up, these costs would automatically be taken care. And in any case, we have different initiatives being taken by the government to make the demand more, to have the cost of ownership more affordable, and hence give a push to the demand. Yes, there is a range anxiety amongst the consumers as to what could be the different technologies for charging, what could be the different integration of technologies which comes with different vehicles. Is the infrastructure ready for that? And again, I believe the standardization of the charging and also the scaling up will answer all these questions. And also there are plans that there will be at least one charging station in a grid of 3 kilometers to 3 kilometers in cities. And there'll be one station available every 25 kilometers on both sides of the highways or roads. So the plans to address such consumer anxieties are also in place. Next slide, please. Now, if I were to talk about Panasonic, the Panasonic business, which has 5 core verticals, I'm glad and proud to share that automotive solutions is one of the key pillars in those 5 key business areas which Panasonic is working in. And with the vision of better life, better world, we aim to continue with game-changing technology and solutions that can enable the EV adoption. And with that, next slide, please. I would like to thank, and I believe with Taiwan's traditional strength in electronics manufacturing, computing, system integration, components, it puts it in a very good position to be a major player in promoting EV adoption globally. So let's the two geographies energize together and collaborate together for a better future. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ritu. Thanks for giving a perspective on the investment opportunities and especially in different sectors of EV space. With this, now we come to the last speaker of today's session. Last but by no means the least, Dr. Hu Ju Sheng, who is General Manager, Mechanical and Mechatronics System Labs, Industrial Technology Research Institute. Over to you, Dr. Hu.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure to join this event and present some of the current status and the future prospect for the EV industry in Taiwan. I think everyone knows that the era of EV is coming fast. There are three reasons to push the business forward. One is global warming. The second one is carbon emission targets set by the various countries. And what's the most important one is that most governments have announced that in certain dates in the future, they will eliminate industrial internal combustion engine vehicle to be sold. In other words, there are some countries only issue new license to pure EV without any emission. Another important factor is that as we know that the industrial combustion engine vehicle are the most serious pollutant, mobile pollutant of the world. So there are some standards like try to limit the emission amount. And some of the target they set, for example, in 2030, the emission target for new cars will be 59 grams of carbon CO2 per kilometer. This number is very difficult to be satisfied by pure IC engine vehicle. So in other words, all these factors have driven a lot of vehicle companies to move fast to the next generation of electric vehicle. Okay. So I think it's a Bloomberg predict that maybe between 2035 and 2040, the number of vehicles sold in the world where the number of EV sold will be more than the number of IC engine vehicle, somewhere between 2035 and 2040. But I believe that the date will come faster, okay? And if you see the right-hand side, as predict in 2040, if we have 50 million vehicles sold in the world, currently the overall number of vehicles sold per year is about 10 million. So 50 million account for maybe 50% to 55% of vehicles sold in the world are EV. Then the total market revenue is $12.5 billion US, which is much larger than the cell phone. Although the number of cell phone is much bigger than the EV. So due to this large amount of revenue, a lot of companies are putting their R&D resource to try to grab the opportunities for the future. Okay. And last year been a very interesting year. Okay. The number of vehicles sold in the world actually is declining compared to 2019. However, the number of EV sold in last year compared to 2019, the year previous, before 2030, is about 46% growth. So it's very, very strange. The total number of vehicles actually is declining, but the EV has 46% growth. So that means I think a lot of companies putting a lot of resource to develop new vehicles and promote their vehicle to the market or establish the charging infrastructure is trying to move fast for the vehicle sales. Those are numbers. And I think currently Germany has Norway for EV sales. Previously, Norway was first number one in Europe, but currently Germany has Norway in EV sales in Europe. And currently, the single biggest company, the largest sale is still belong to Tesla. Okay, but Volkswagen and other traditional car makers, they are catching fast to grab the sale of the EV in the world. Okay. Now, if we compare to, come to the electric vehicle, I think from the Taiwan perspective, supplying the key components for EV makers in the world is actually a very important business of Taiwan. And if you tear down the EV, there are three very important components. One is battery, the second one is motor, and the third one is electronic control. Okay, and of course, I will talk each one in the following slides. And if for the motor, actually, in the EV area, we usually refer it as e-axle. E-axle meaning it's actually the traditional powertrain for the IC engine. In other words, those components who supply the power to the EV are usually called e-axle. Okay, and electronic control is particularly important for EV because a lot of components will consume electrical energy in a future EV vehicle. And particularly, people are looking at the next generation semiconductor material to support the efficiency boost of the EV. For example, the wide bandgap semiconductors such as gallium nitride or silicon carbide. Those are very important development for EV. Okay. Other than EV, I think the another important components outside the vehicle is the energy supply equipment, or we call charging station. Okay, there are two, prediction that 2025, the worldwide charging station business will be $1.91 billion US. It's a very large market. And also, people are looking at if the charging station connecting to the grid, there will be opportunity for B2G business, vehicle to grid, by directional energy flow. Okay, so EVSE is also grows very fast, and this is also very important business in Taiwan. Many companies have devoted to the EVSE business. Okay. As I mentioned, the power module or the power system that drive the vehicle is a single most important component for EV. Okay, and in the figure you can show that we see that, for example, in 2030, the forecast, the overall vehicle is about 105 million number of vehicles, but the EV is occupy like a 23.9 billion. But the growth rate for the EV is much faster than the non-EV. And within the EV, the power components such as inverter, converter, charger, and a fast charger, you can see that the growth rate is also very fast. Okay. And as I mentioned, the silicon carbide power semiconductor right now can be applied to inverter, DC inverter, or other onboard chargers. And there are several companies in Taiwan. They are trying to develop this new type of material to be used for the power system. Now, overall speaking, other than electrification, or we call electrical vehicle, there are three other factors that will affect the whole mobility business. Those are connected, I mean car connection, automated, meaning self-driving. The third one is share vehicle. Okay, so overall we can use this pretty together. It's called CASE. Okay, and so CASE is actually the future of vehicle development. Okay, now Taiwan has been a global partner for many vehicle brand. Okay, particularly for Tesla. Okay, I think the figure shows each components if you for the Tesla vehicle, but when I put this component, for example, camera, some of the camera on Tesla is actually made in Taiwan. Okay, so those are the components we currently supply, or previously we help our partner to develop their prototype. Okay, so Taiwan actually laid the successful groundwork for the Tesla supply chain. Okay, we can say that. Now, another strength for the, as I said, the development trend for case, it has to be supported heavily by the ICT, including semiconductor chips and electronic product manufacturing or panel display, etc. So Taiwan, I think in this area, Taiwan has built a very strong strength in this area. So in the future, for the CASE case functions like a vehicle cabin, electronics, sensors, electronic components, ADAS, lighting system, communication, etc. Those we have a very good supply chain and with very competitive price and quality to supply to the EV. Particularly, I think in the middle, I put autonomy here, is that people all put eyes on, for example, the Tesla autopilot functions. Everybody believe that, I think most people believe that in a certain day in the future, the car will drive by itself. In other words, it will reach level 4 autonomy, okay? And I think we are also forming many teams, including, for example, E3. We are very pioneer project that our vehicle already reached level 4 or level 5, has been running out in the city, Hsinchu city, for about 2 years, okay, on the street. So those ICT strengths will be a very, I think Taiwan industry has a global competitive edge to supply for the future EV development, okay. Now, this is the inverters. As I mentioned, the wide bandgap material will be play a very important role. And this chart shows that the current silicon material and the future silicon carbide and the gallium nitride material will have much better advantage over the traditional silicon material. And this also belongs to the semiconductor industry, where Taiwan has built a very good infrastructure to develop this new material, okay, for the future power system. And another one is that if you look at the figure here, in the future, all the one of the trend is that we have to combine inverter, motors, gearbox all together into what we call all 3-in-1 or all-in-one integrated power module. This will be reducing the cost and reduce the footprint of the power system. If you reduce the footprint, you mean you have a more vehicle in interior space. So in other words, you will make the vehicle more spatial for the passengers. So this has been a very important development trend, and I think several important companies, very large companies in Taiwan already try to put this together into a single product. Okay, now battery pack, of course, currently there are some companies in Taiwan working on high energy density lithium batteries to meet the goal. And also, for example, in E3, we are engaging in the development of next generation solid state battery, where the most important feature is that it can do a very fast charging, giving a charging battery to the 70 or 80% capacity in several minutes. Okay, and it's very important for supplying the energy. Okay, as I mentioned, the EV energy supply equipment, I mean, a charging station is very important for the infrastructure is very important for the EV promotion. And there are companies in Taiwan already been, for example, the Delta. The Delta has been the partner with a major global car makers to supply their onboard charger or charging station. And there are some companies in Taiwan already use the charging station to develop new business models. For example, in Taiwan, because of the we have a limited land, so some of the parking lot they use the mechanical parking. Okay, put more car in it. And I think the last month or the month before, there are companies already installed the charging infrastructure into the mechanical charging. In other words, you drive your vehicle onto the mechanical charging structure, the structure will charge your vehicle automatically by itself. So this is much convenient than the parking lot without the mechanical structure because the electricity is already there. Okay. Okay. And in terms of charging, that what the very important factor for everybody to consider is the standard. So E3 in last year we have established a consortium that put everybody together to discuss what would be the best charging standard for Taiwan. Okay, so there are many companies, including government agencies, participate in the consortium, and we keep discussing how should we reach a standard so that everybody can follow when they install their charging infrastructure. This is my last slides. Okay, Taiwan. I think Taiwan has been a very good partner for component manufacturing, but don't forget that Taiwan still have some assembly factory. For example, Yulong or other foreign brands that establish the assembly plant in Taiwan, and also bus. Okay. And the single most advantage for our plant is we can produce small model and mixed model production. So this, I think this is very interesting manufacturing characteristics that will meet the future plan direction that if maybe in the future vehicle, the variety of vehicle will be much larger than the current one because it's very not so difficult to make an EV easier than the combustion engine. So in other words, Taiwan's manufacturing assembly line will be ideal for those development. And currently, I think Hong Hai, the largest EMS company in Taiwan, in the world, also established an alliance called MIH. They try to grab the new opportunities for the EV development in the future. And they already assemble more than 1,500 companies in their alliance, and they will announce new EV kits for the driving by wire system in this year. And they already announced 4 different types of EV platforms that can be customized for the EV maker to produce a new vehicle model. So this is my last slide, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hu. Thank you for giving an overview and the future of EV sector in India and in Taiwan. So with this, we have come to the end of our plenary sessions. We had, I think, good discussion, good deliberations from exploring opportunities, collaborative opportunities between India and Taiwan for supply chain resilience initiative, to cooperation and investment opportunities in EV and smart cities sector. So with this, we have come to the end of the plenary sessions, but we have, I think we can take up a couple of questions from, so we have, I think 2-3 questions, maybe I think from the floor from Taiwan side.
现在进入提问环节，欢迎现场贵宾踊跃发问。好，那请贵宾移驾至前方来发问。
sorry. The first question that we have is on one of the key point to increase EV's penetration rate is to standardize swappable batteries or charging pile technology across the industry. Is India now formulate an industry standard? So this question is from Taiwan. So
I also have another question. And we understand, I'm from TECO. We are the EV powertrain manufacturer. We have 3-on-1, 6-on-1 solution already. But we are also told that in some states in India, for the e-bus, they are not looking for a brand new e-bus. They are looking for a conversion from the current engine type bus. What kind of policy Indian government aim to this aspect? That's my question.
Okay, I think here I may request Mr. Khare if he can answer this particular question. I think Mr. Khare has left. So, Rudra, would you like to give some details on this particular aspect?
Honestly, I don't have the answer, but the question is on the policy. There is no as such policy. This might be a business initiative of the respective company who wishes to procure in a way that they don't want to change the capital asset, but change only the parts which are kind of a hybrid in nature, which can replace the current model with the new model with the ability to supplement what they need. So as such, the government of India, to my understanding, does not have a policy like that. They wish to only source the relevant part for existing capital asset, which is the e-buses. But Gajendra, we can do a deep dive into the question, and we can get back to the gentleman who raised the question. I'll send you the reply. But as I said, we don't. In my knowledge, there is no policy of the government of India or the state government to this effect. It could be the preference of the respective companies to procure equipment like in the manner that the gentleman has explained from Taiwan side.
Okay, thanks, Rudra.
Mr. Gajendra, we will open to one more question here.
Okay.
现场贵宾还有其他问题要发问吗？
Is any other question? Is there any other question from the floor?
Okay, Mr. Gajendra, now we will raise the questions collected from the chat box.
Okay. So I think this question is on EV penetration. So Ritu, if you are there, you may just switch on your video. And I think this one is on EV's penetration rate. And one of the key points to increase EV's penetration rate is to standardize swappable batteries or charging pile technology across the industry. Is India now formulating an industry standard? I believe this is the question. So Ritu, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, so I can throw some light on this. Basically, as I mentioned in my presentation also, that there are different committees formed. There is Bureau of Indian Standards, and in collaboration with other ministries who are looking into the aspect of seeing that how standards can be articulated and to be able to have one standard across, but this is work in progress. The different committees are working towards this. Does that clarify?
So yeah, maybe now we can go to the next question. But again, Mr. Khare is not here, but if any of our other panelists would like to answer this particular one. This is on smart solution. What is the major challenge for integrating smart solutions in India, and what kind of smart solutions in India most needed now for building a smart city? So I think this one is a difficult one for these two panelists, because Mr. Khare was a specialist here for smart cities, but he had to leave. He had some other engagement.
We can respond to them subsequently,
Yeah.
Gajendra.
So I think what we will do, we will take the view from our committee on smart cities. We have a smart cities committee at FICCI, and we will later on send you a detailed reply on this particular question, and including the inputs from Mr. Khare. Sorry, we couldn't answer this spontaneously at the moment, as Mr. Khare is not here, but we'll surely send you a detailed note on this. I think with this, we have come to the end of today's very important session on India-Taiwan Joint Business Committee meeting. And I would like to thank all our speakers, starting from the inaugural session to our Director General, Mr. Gaurang Lal Das, His Excellency, Mr. Bhushan Ger, Chair of the committees from India and Taiwan, from FICCI, Mr. Samir Modi and Mr. Manish Sharma, and from SIECA, Mr. Tong, and also all the distinguished speakers of the three panels here. So with this, I would like to thank all the panelists and all the participants who have joined online, as well as at the venue in Taiwan. And this is just a beginning. So if you have any further question or any other deliberations or any other clarifications, we would be more than happy to answer those questions later as well. And thanks everyone. And I think these are little difficult times, especially for us in India, but we assure our full cooperation. And FICCI is the nodal industry body for promoting India-Taiwan business relations, and we assure our full cooperation at all times. Thanks. And thanks, I would also like to thank all the people who are working behind the scenes, whether it was Dheeraj from FICCI, or Rola, or Danny at the SIECA Secretariat, for putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bakuja, and all the guests and speakers. 再次感谢各位贵宾莅临本次会议。在您离开前，请将问卷、入会申请书及名牌交还给工作人员。谢谢您的合作。
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rudra.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rudra ji.